So I call here 1295th meeting of our club in order. Mic is not working, but my voice is too loud. Okay. So since Geeta is not here, so Deep put collar on me. He already did it without me asking him to do it. So they can't produce it. Hold like banana. So everybody is well, I believe. Everybody is doing fine. Is glad to meet you all here. This is after 2 years, 2.5 years, almost, and 2 years, almost 2 years. Hello. So thank you very much. Welcome you all here. I asked to say this.
Test is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
We celebrate the anniversary of Rotary Members on 2nd September. We will be having 2 speaker meetings in the month of September on 10th September and 24th September at the Rotary level in the High Summit.
This is for everything.
We can hear you.
Yes. So I request here Mrs. Naba to introduce our speaker here, Shri Karan Singh. Gladly, we are very glad that you are here. So Mrs. Naba, please. Mic.
First, a very it's one truly warm for us. At least meeting this is a girl. A very warm welcome. And a very warm welcome to our members who are with us on Zoom. So it's a wonderful evening. It's the first meeting of ours after the whole of the I'm planning to have you with us. So may I take the pleasure of introducing our speaker. Karan Singh was born in Mumbai, and later his family moved to Delhi, and his father's transfer. He attended the Mother International School in Delhi. He enrolled in the Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Khalsa College of the University of Delhi to work towards a bachelor's degree in commerce. Karan Singh's first exposure to magic to magic occurred in 2012 at a summer camp near Manali. No, Manali, sorry. Where he started a magic magician named Islamuddin Khan, his first lesson in magic and his first experience in the initial years. He performed only at these two tricks, and he I can't read. It's
Especially if you dark day, you can
yes,
see this side.
it's too dark.
Maybe not this side, because you take it on this side, sort of like.
And that is when he stumbled upon David playing on television. Karan Singh gained popularity after his first commercial show, and Karan Singh magic at he performed at his magic at the City Fort Auditorium near Delhi, sponsored by Pepsi. It was India's first ever commercial one time mind reading show where Karan Singh performed for the former Pepsi chairman and the CEO Indra Nui. I hope you magic. He is known for
You're
setting his gosh, I can't read the word at all. Setting his for testing his audience and a prop while performing on stage, and his been titled The Modern Day Wizard by New York. There by the New York Times, and the tremendous and especially when he figured out Shah Rukh Khan's ATM pin by Shio. So we all have to be careful about ATM. Thank you.
So put you all your files in the bag and pocket, so don't even
Watch
see
out for
false
this.
nothing.
Thank you.
No worries, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we are sitting there because we need the place.
Yeah.
So
That might happen. Oh. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for having me here. I'm Karan. Like man kindly pointed out, my stage name is Karan Singh Magic. I'm a psychological illusionist. What's that? I mix modern magic with traditional psychology. And when you fuse the two, you can sort of give the illusion that you can read minds. That's the essence of what I do. In layman terms, I am a magician, which poses a little bit of a problem. Because my main source of living is corporate gigs. And if I go to corporate shows and I tell people that I'm a magician, the first question I get asked in the most horrible, sexist, stereotypical way is, can you make my wife disappear? It is always inevitably that. The moment you hear of a magician, that is always your first thought. But yeah, which is why I said it's sexist, man. Which is why I said it's sexist. I disappear. That people enjoyed the joke the most. No, but when I was asked to be here, I was told to talk to you about my life, which I think will be a very disappointing evening for you because my life truly isn't that interesting. But now that I'm here, I don't think either of you have any choice in the matter, and I am going to have to tell you what I have to tell you. My life essentially can be summed up with 3 P's. The first of those P's is passion. And to tell you about my passion, I think it's important that I take you back to me as a 3-year-old. It's the year 1995, the winter of 1995. Like man pointed out, my father got transferred from Bombay to Delhi. And my parents used to work. I haven't had a brother who used to go to school. I, being too young, used to spend my day with my grandparents, my dada and my dad, both of whom would come from across the border after the partition. And do you want me to shift it towards me? Yeah, I'll do that.
Yes, maybe on this table.
Maybe on that, the charging port won't reach there. Yeah, it won't reach there. For the people watching at home, you can enjoy me without my head.
Just take it back. That's it.
Yeah, maybe we can do that. Cool. I have to take you back to this winter of 1995. Being with my grandparents, I used to spend most of my day. Both of them, like I said, had come from across the border after the partition, and both of them spoke in a mixture of Urdu and Punjabi. And for me, passion begins with my first memory. My first memory is of my grandfather sitting me down and saying a quote to me. It's a quote that I heard several times after, but him saying that quote to me is my first memory of my life. He said, "Zindagi mein kaam karo, to aisa karo कि काम को खुशी हो कि तुमने उसे किया." It's a beautiful quote. If you do something, do it so well that the work is happy that you did it. And I've based my life on that. Every single thing that I've done since a 3-year-old has been based on the back of that one quote. Every single thing that I've done has been based on him saying that. For me, passion was always that. And for me, I've had several passions. For me, passions is sort of like a teenage boy being in love. I think as a teenage boy or a girl for that matter as well, I can't speak much for girls, not having the experience of being one, but I'm sure you've been through that. As a teenager, there's somebody new you love every single day. When you're in school, your neighborhood, there's something new you fancy. That's been my life. One day it was football, one day it was cricket, one day it was just flipping through channels on my television. One day it was playing music. I play several instruments, never in front of people, it's just something that I keep myself. But it was something new pretty much every single day. But my first that stuck and that sort of became my love was magic. As an 11-year-old, I went to a summer camp in this place called Tirthan, which is close to Kulu Manali, and I met a magician there. He taught me 2 tricks, and I did those 2 tricks for everybody I knew, till everyone knew how they were done. There came to a point where I thought, okay, maybe this isn't working, and I switched back to football because that's truly what I loved. And I used to play a lot of football. I used to play football for my school as well. One day, while playing an inter-school match, me being in the Madras International School against Amity Saket, who were playing, I remember, and I got tackled and I injured my back as an 11-year-old, and I was sentenced to 2 months of bed rest. In that bed rest, I stumbled upon the internet. As an 11-year-old boy on the internet, you'd expect me to watch a certain kind of video. But as an 11-year-old, I chose to watch magic as opposed to anything else. And that became my life. Every single day, all I did was look up magic videos online. And I honed my craft in those 2 months. And that then became my life. Every single thing that I've done since then has been about that, has been about performing as much as I can. Initially, it was performing to my friends in school, friends in neighborhood, friends in my tuitions. As a 16-year-old, I got my first job. There was a hotel right behind my house called the Claridge's, and I started performing there. But the moment I went up there and I told them that I'm a magician, I want to perform, their first thought was not an audience like you. Inevitably, their first thought was 1 or 2-year-old children, because that's the idea that people have of magic. So those are the shows that I did, performing for 1 or 2-year-olds. As a 16-year-old myself, every second weekend I did that for 2 years. And after every show, I went up to the adults and said, oh, maybe if you work in a company, you'd like to have a show which is directed towards the elders and not the kids. And that started happening. From there, it grew to several corporate gigs, about 100 to 150 of them a year. I performed for the who's who, the Apples, the Googles, the Facebooks of the world. I have, from then, started doing sort of the biggest parties in the country. We named it Bollywood parties, cricket parties, be it reading the mind of Mr. Mukesh Ambani, Ratan Tata, Shah Rukh Khan, Virat Kohli. I've done it all. And that sort of became everything that I did. If you want to see it, Karan Singh Magic on YouTube. At home also, Karan Singh Magic on YouTube. Check it out. I think a lot of the videos are on there, so make sure you go see them. And I started doing that as much as I could. But as a 16-year-old who just started doing shows, I still had that thing of being in love with somebody, something new every single day. And for me, within magic, I found something new every day, be it card tricks, coin tricks, and so on. And there were 35 or 36 tricks that I used to do in any given show. And then I reached a point where I stumbled across the second P of my life. Second P is probability. Probability is something that all of us have heard of, but nobody really sort of utilizes. If you look at a casino, I'm sure all of you at some point in your life have either seen a casino in a video or have been to a casino. One of the most famous games in the world is a roulette wheel. There are 36 numbers, red, black, and one of them is green. And you bet whether the number is going to be red or black. A ball gets rolled around, stops on a number. If you win, you double your money. Simple as that. But all of us know that if you go to a casino, inevitably, the casino is going to win eventually. You will never win. It will always be the casino. The reason that happens on a roulette wheel is because there is just one green number. There are 36 numbers, out of them only one of them is green. And that one green number is the 1.2% odds that a casino has to win every single time. Over a long period of time, the casino always wins just because of that one number. You can never defeat it. And all of a sudden, I realized I don't need to be doing 36 tricks. The only thing that matters is that one, which has the potential to change your life. That one came to me as a 17-year-old. In the year 2008, I came up with a unique idea. I had seen magicians around the world either cutting people in half, putting them back together, making roses appear out of nowhere, doing the most extraordinary card tricks. But I wanted to do something different. I wanted to meet somebody for the first time in my life, like I've met all of you today, look at one of you dead in the eye and figure out your ATM pins. Sense the tension in the room, particularly on that table there. I started doing that, and the first person, I needed somebody to test out my ideas on, and the first person I tested out my idea on was my dad. My father, as a 17-year-old, all I wanted was my dad's ATM pin number. I think some people that are already changing theirs. I went up to my father and I looked at him dead in the eye. I said, in your mind, just repeat your ATM pin to yourself again and again. I took a pause and I said, is your ATM pin 2010, which happens to be the 20th of October, which is my mom's date of birth. I'm a Sardar or a Sikh, and my father is the extreme opposite of what you'd expect a stereotypical Sardar to be. He is very soft-spoken.
Vegetarian.
He's not vegetarian. He was vegetarian before he got married. He was vegetarian and didn't drink before he got married. But he got married to an army background family, like my mom's from an army background. So he started drinking and eating non-veg. So there's this running joke in the family that my mom spoiled my dad. But yeah, my father is extremely soft-spoken. He is very socially awkward. He can't hold he doesn't talk much around people. Only around his children would he say things, but he's very careful of what he says around his children. He doesn't want to leave a bad impression on them. But when 17-year-old me looked at my dad and I said, is your ATM pin 2010? My well-spoken, well-articulated father said the choicest of words in Punjabi, which I probably shouldn't repeat here. And my father, who loved me, hopefully still, would react like that. I thought, what would happen if I go out on stage and bringing up random people on stage and telling a room full of people their ATM pins? As a 17-year-old juvenile boy, I did that. I went to, like I said, every party in the world and tried to do that. And I tried to figure out what people were thinking of. And I built a career doing that. That's the one out of the 36 that changed my life. That's the one out of 36 that I'm here for today. That's the one out of 36 that I've built a career on. No matter where I go, with the videos on YouTube, with the other shows that I've done, inevitably I always get asked, oh, can you figure out what I'm thinking of? It's always there, every single time. Before I move on to the third story, if you mix passion and probability, the one thing that you have to be aware of is change. And change is something that every single person in this room has been made brutally aware of in the last 1 year. The fact that there is change is that there are people watching online while we're sitting here. It would have been lovely to have every single person here because that's what the whole point of this is. We would have loved to have all of you here. But change is something that you need to learn to adapt to. On the 24th of March 2020, last year, when India went into lockdown, me being a live performer, having an audience every single night, my life since 2013 has been stepping out of my home every evening at 7, going to a comedy club, theater, auditorium, in a couple of very lucky cases, a stadium, and putting on a show for people. But that got taken away from me. That's the change that I had to adapt to. And that's when I went back to passion. I didn't care about if it was one person I was performing for or 10,000. I put up a post on my social media saying, if you want me to perform for you, get in touch. And I'll spend 10 minutes with you. Because initially all we thought was that lockdown was going to be 3 weeks. We'll bang some parties, like somebody else, shout, go, Corona, go. And all of us will be out of the situation that we find ourselves in. It's been over a year, but we're still here. But that post of me saying, I'd love to perform for you, sitting at home and feeling lonely during these troubled times, it blew up. And from performing for people in India, I started performing for people around the world. The New York Times covered it. I was on the, somehow they was juvenile and stupid enough to put me on their front page. And as a result of that, I got queries from around the world. I was doing shows in India, in the United States, Mexico, Singapore, Australia, Dubai, the Middle East, Japan, China, name a country, and I was there urgent. That's the change that I adapted to. This is the change that we're adapting to now, having an online audience and all of you being here with me live. Another change that the world has had to adapt to, it's conversations that are floating around a lot, is about privacy. With all of us being at home, some of us have started thinking our lives are only online. And we're not very sure of our privacy is online. And that's the third P of my life, privacy. And my ability to invade yours. So before I move on, ladies and gentlemen, my third story is not a story. My third story is an act, which I hope all of you will allow me to show you. So let's try this. I'm not going to embarrass any of you by telling anyone your ATM pins because I've done those shows in Delhi and Gurgaon and I've had very troubled experiences.
Not age also.
Sorry?
Not age also.
Not age, not age also, ma'am, for sure. So we'll move on to the next best thing.
That's all right.
The next best thing is, if I can't reveal your ATM pins, our privacies right now are protected by the device we use more than anything else, our phones. A lot of you inevitably either been taking photos or taking videos or just messaging friends or family while I've been here. But that is the privacy that can be invaded with just 4 digits. Think about this, 4 digits protect your entire life. Your bank accounts are on your phone. Your friends are on your phone. Your family personal conversations are on your phone. If any of you are cheating on your husbands or wives, that's on your phone. Protected by a phone. I like how that causes a little bit of a giggle. That's all just protected by a 4-digit number. I'm not going to reveal if anyone's cheating on their partners. That will not be magic, that will be blackmail. But we'll try this nonetheless. Every single time we unlock our phones, we very rarely use those 4 or 6 digits. It's either now a fingerprint or a face ID. That's supposed to make it more secure. So let's try this. Every single one of you, unlock your phones for me right now. Be it with a face ID, be it with a fingerprint, whatever it is, a swipe, whatever. Any way you unlock, please do that for me now. Your battery is gone. The rest of you, sir, if your phone's here, I give you. There you go, sir. How very convenient that your battery is gone. That's okay. Every single, the rest of you, unlock your phones and open your calculators. Every single one of you do this for me right now. All of you do this. And we're going to try to do this little experiment. Every single time, like I said, if we unlock our phones, it's either with a fingerprint or our faces. Very rarely do we see our passwords written down. Even if we sort of type it in, it's just stars that pop up. Our number is never written down. So on your calculators, I want you to type in your password. Don't show anybody else, sort of hide it from your friends, and type in your password into your calculator so that you have a visual representation of the 4 digits that unlock your life. Especially people on that days. You don't seem very involved, you're just here for the period. Just type in your passwords into your calculator, every single one of these. Actual passwords.
There is no password, there is no comment.
I know.
You don't have a password?
No.
That is dangerous. you don't have. It's the most dangerous audience I've ever been a part of. That means you have nothing to hide. If you don't have a password, make up a password in your mind. Make it up. Put it. You got lots of passwords, but you got no battery, man. So there's so every single one of you type this into your phones and we try this. Keep looking at your passwords with your calculator. Keep staring at them for me. Yeah, whatever, 4-digit number, 6-digit number. Keep staring at it. Keep staring at it for me and lock your phones. Let the password be on your calculator. Lock your phones and hold them high up in your palm. Hold them high up in your palm. I'll come to some of you at random and we'll try this. Yeah, lock it. Lock it. So how long have you had that password in your phone? Very long. And it's the same password always. Yeah. And what about you, sir? How long have you had? Yes. Can you stand up? Stand up. The rest of you can relax. Sir, you join me up here. You will run the doors as you carry out. You put your phone in your pocket. It is ATM. You use this password elsewhere, you said. So have you, by any chance, used this in your bank account? Excellent. This is going to be fun. Also, it's the bank that I'll be in jail. Can you turn and face everybody, sir? And we'll try this. You lock your phone in your pocket so that nobody can see anything. And we'll try this. Are you comfortable, firstly? I am. For me to try to figure out your password and tell everybody? Are you? Yeah. Oh, that's very nice of you. A lot of what I do, ladies and gentlemen, is based on body language. People say something, but mean something completely different. I looked at him and I said, is it okay if we try to figure out your password and tell everybody? Are you comfortable with that? He said, yeah, sure. Shaking his head no, while saying yes. But you give me verbal permission, sir, so I will try this. Is it like a date of birth or an anniversary? Yeah. Date of birth? Yeah. Your date of birth? Daughter's date of birth. Just yes or no, sir. Do you know her star sign? Just yes or no. Yeah. Yes. Or can you think of her star sign? Yeah. Don't tell me what it is. Just think of it. And imagine she's with you here right now. Imagine she's standing here. Imagine she walks in. She has a conversation with you. And imagine that all of us right now are here for her birthday. We're not here to do anything else. What happened to that? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe you can be there, sir. Excellent. Everybody can still see him. Yes. Yes. Excellent. Think of this, sir. Think of whatever your password is in your mind. Think of a star sign to begin with. Imagine she's walking in. She begins talking to you. Gemini? Yes. Excellent. And you, now think of this, whatever your password is, think of the first digit, the second digit, the third digit, and then the last digit. Can you turn and face everybody, sir? And can I ask you just to think of your first digit and count from 0 to 9 out loud?
Count 0, 1.
Yeah, 0 to 9, just count it out loud. So look at them and do it. One more time from the beginning.
Sorry?
From one more time from the beginning while looking at them.
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
The dead giveaway there. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A very definite pause after the 2. The first is a 2, yes? Yes, next. Fairly easy. Think of the second digit, the third digit, and then the last. Next, close your eyes and keep them closed till I ask you. Okay. Sir, if at any point he opens his eyes, you're going to stand up, you're going to turn and face everybody, and you're going to shout, he's opened his eyes. Okay. Simple. Your eyes are shut. Okay. I'm going to show all of you what I think his password is. It also unlocks his bank account, like he told us. Keep it entirely to yourself. I'm going to hold up fingers. Keep it completely to yourself. Don't shout the numbers of fingers I'm holding up. Don't scream it. Keep it completely to yourself. The first digit we know is a 2. The second digit, I think, is... The third digit, I think, is... And the last digit is... So one more time. So can you open your eyes? Please be right. I'm going to count to 3, sir. Okay. When I reach 3 in your nicest, clearest public speaking voice, you're going to tell everybody your password. I've told them what I think it is. And if I get anywhere close, I want you all to react because he doesn't know how many fingers I held up. I might have one of the digits the other way around, but I think those 4 digits should be there. So can you turn and face everybody? 1, 2, 3. Your password is
2605.
2605. That's the first time I met him. Those.
Well done. Scary.
Thank you. I'm the only person in the world who takes scary as a compliment. But ladies and gentlemen, privacy, that's the third P of my life. Adapting to change using this idea of me being able to figure out a private piece of information. If you look it up online, I've done this, like I said, with the who's who of the world. I've not just done passwords and ATM pins, but names that people think of.
Yes, I watched your YouTube with Virat Kohli.
Yeah, that's one of my most famous ones. Thank you, man. For those of you who haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on YouTube. It's with Virat Kohli, where I asked him to think of a name of a childhood friend. And you figured it out. But those. No. He was kind enough to invite me here. I'm not going to tell everybody. But ladies and gentlemen, those essentially are the three P's. The privacy, the passion, and the probability. If you can combine those three, you can adapt to change. Every single one of us can do what I do. That's all that it means. And while he calls his bank manager, asking to block his cards. And I think if all of us can go back to me as a 3-year-old and sit with my grandfather and apply his quote, "Kaam karo to aisa karo," ki kaam ko khushi ho ki tumne usse kiya, I think our lives will be much, much better, regardless of the pains we find ourselves in. I'm Karan Singh Magic, and that's my story. Thank you all so much for having me. No, so I think free में नहीं मिलता है. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
So just tell us how you did it.
How I did it? Sir, then my profession just dies now if I tell you, please come and join me, sir. If anybody has any questions except for how I did it, I'd be. And my career will be at an end if I tell you. Yes, I think, but that should be a specific setting. I've done that in my shows, but again, it's hypnosis for entertainment as opposed to hypnosis for anything else. For sure, if anybody watching at home has any questions, I'd be happy to take them. Meanwhile, if anybody here has anything, I'll be happy to.
Anybody can ask questions.
Yeah, anybody can ask questions, even on Zoom. No shit shopping. I can say one hour, not my phone. We had a site, and also they are muted, so yeah,
I had a sidekick with every single person I've performed for in the world, ma'am. The entire world is conspiring to make me look good.
Two was not certain. That was okay because it was nice. But
He paused.
zero was not certain. But Karan, one thing I like saying that 0-4-digit word is God cyber.
Yes.
Do you actually realize that everything, including opening up your mobile banking, everything from the phone interface, including numbers, random numbers that come in, even if you have a 2-step verification.
Yes. Yes, they completely. I think it's fairly easy to figure them out.
So then you can hack it without.
I could, ma'am, but I choose to be an entertainer and not a con artist. But
No, you need to get yourself insured in case somebody taps you and makes you do it.
I think, see, ma'am, with right now, because it's been done for entertainment, people are more open as well. But as opposed to if you were kidnapped, you'd be in a very different situation. And if on the off chance that you're kidnapped by a mind reader, I think automatically your defenses will be higher. So it'll be more difficult to figure out what you're thinking of.
Tell me, when you were talking to Virat Kohli, like
Yeah.
these were numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a pause. That was a picture of you. Okay, and one picture.
Yeah.
But how did you work out this childhood friend out of nowhere? And it was a different name.
Yeah, it was fairly easy. I think it was Piyush something. Piyush Nagpal. So I think with him, there's one thing that he did. I asked him same thing. Like I asked him to say the numbers to himself. I asked Virat to say the name to himself. And if you look at the video, there's a moment where he does this, which is a pursing of the lips.
Correct.
And if you were to say the letter P or B out loud, you would have to purse your lip. P, B.
But we would have so many names.
Yeah, but I mean, that's one hint that I'm giving you. The rest of it, of course.
Okay, you're done your homework with. Okay.
No, there's no homework. I mean, based on just, if I can figure out one letter like that, was to say every single letter then will have some kind of expression that crosses its face. And I pick up on those and you can sort of figure out what it's meaning.
But this magic, this learning magic, it's like proper.
No, so I don't think there's anybody who sort of teaches magic because I think magic's the only art form in the world where if you figure out how it's done, you're slightly put off by it. Because at the heart of everything is a silly trick. So I think magic's the only art form that's very rarely professionally taught. For me also, I've learned everything on my own through videos and books. And the only professional sort of education that I've had is in theatre. That's the only education that I've had in the line of work that I do. But this is not magic. I mean, the first line of my show is that I mix modern magic with psychology, which is all there is to it. There is a trick to it always, but there's psychology to it as well. So I'm just mixing the two. This is not
Acts
magic.
like cutting.
Yeah.
Needs a lot of
Of course, I think, but I think that's true for anything which there's a certain level of focus that you need for anything. You learn all this things through internet, or you all of it through the internet, through videos, through books. Went to the 70th page of Google search results, opened every link on the way, and learned everything that I do. How much do you charge for the split? For to teach, I don't teach, sir. I never teach. So anybody can push.
So, you know, in the West, you have a lot of these magicians, mentalists, that have a lot of teachers.
Yes.
We've never had anyone as far as the concert.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I don't believe it's still like
Of course.
So, what does it stop seeing?
So I think television in the country right now is quite terrible. I have been offered several times to do either a regular appearance in television or like a weekly thing. But that's not something that appeals to me because I think my audience right now is majorly 15 to 34-year-olds. And they usually stay in television themselves. They prefer to watch something like this online. So maybe like a Netflix or an Amazon Prime, maybe. But television, I've been asked several times and I've politely declined most of those times because it's not something that fascinates me. And I think going forward, it'll be more online, and which is why I choose to upload my videos on YouTube, and I think more eyeballs on YouTube than I would on television. From what I know, if I was to do like a Wednesday night slot on TV, let's say on an AXN or something, I'd have anywhere between 100 to 300,000 people watching. On my YouTube, like the Virat Kohli video that ma'am spoke about, over 20 million people have seen that. So automatically they'll have more eyeballs online as opposed to TV. So yeah.
Then you would do a series, like a limited series of 6 or something.
Yeah, I could do that, or maybe what I can do is like a 1.5, like you see comedy shows, like a 1.5 hour show. So something like that. If I do a live show, I have a story to it. So the entire show has a story, and it's me on stage for 90 minutes and performing. So yeah. How old are you? I am 30 years old, sir. Even though ma'am said that we're not allowed to discuss ages, but I'm 30.
Very interesting.
I'm very interested. Yes, ma'am.
What would you do? Like you said, a story. What all do you demonstrate?
So this is one of those things for sure, but that's done at a bigger level. So if a live show, let's say, has 800 to 1,000 people, the last 40 minutes is me just standing on stage. Nobody else comes up like right now, so came up on stage. But if I'm performing on stage, I can just maybe look at someone and say, okay, this is your name, this is your date of birth, this is what you had for lunch. Then turn around, look at somebody else, their date of birth, their car number plate, things like that.
Oh my God.
So yeah, just their personal bits of information. Yeah. So,
Why at least?
I did one, man.
So what you feature?
So you will get discount next time, we'll call you.
So you already got a discount this time. Yeah, we sauce.
You should have read that.
So any more questions here? Any more questions?
So the first line of my show, ma'am, is that I call myself a psychological illusionist. So I'm mixing psychology and magic. So of course there's a level of trickery to it, but there's a level of psychology to it as well. And when you fuse the two, the point where the two meet is where it sort of becomes fascinating.
So Pradeep, you must be having some question. Pradeep, he's the man, managing all money here.
Oh wow!
So Pradeep, any question?
I have questions for him. So what's that? If you have anything to ask, please wait.
Any questions? Any more questions here?
So we need to know his bank balance.
You need to know his bank balance. I unfortunately have to sign like a NDA before every show where I won't reveal anything where people aren't.
Well, how will it help us? The bank balance.
I'll tell you the bank balance that I figured out his ATM pin and not tell anyone.
So question session is finished now. I ask and request Pradeep to say what are things.
So there's a big difference between doing a corporate event and coming to a road trip. I think that difference is that in corporate events, they want the wives to disappear. Yeah, we don't know. We love our work. What we do is some particular lawyers to disappear. I think your presence itself kept that particular lawyer away. So, it was very effective. The other thing I want to just, your philosophy of good deeds, of passion, of probability, of privacy, reminds me of a friend of mine who had a 3R philosophy, which was rum, and Russian women. Right? But it's been a really fabulous half an hour. This will be a story. Great. We will certainly get you back and for a Rotary paid fellowship. We will ensure that.
That's what I was asking.
We will ensure that, but we really hope that you take magic and what you do to a different level in this country. But I think the scope is so huge. Like I said, we see so many of these series on TV. Fantastic what we see in terms of magic, methods. The opportunity here is huge. There are not many that do it. You're in a unique space. So we wish you all the best. We thank you so much for coming to share your experience.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes.
So today's sunshine collection is 5,200. And I asked Anita to send some beautiful gifts to our guests.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm sure it is.
So thank you very much, friends, for coming here, joining today's dinner, which was like much awaited. And we should stand for the national anthem now. Dr. Bali.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Let's go in.